Hello there, citizens of the Federation, and welcome back to another episode of State of the Federation. I'm your host, Tucker, and with me today are my co-hosts, Robert and Joseph. How you guys doing?
Well, I know we are one to never let a good baseball opportunity pass us, so I am hopeful that the Giants land Stanton in a massive blockbuster trade.
They won't.
He would veto. He's got no trade.
No, one of the waivers is for the Giants.
What do you mean? He doesn't have no trade to the Giants?
He has opened the trade clause for the Giants.
Actually, you know why that's true? Because he wants to play in California, apparently. That's where he's from.
Oh. So that's where everybody loves to play games, including Star Trek and tackling fans.
Yeah. Actually, we saw that. We saw that last night. I was down at Brookhurst Hobbies in Garden Grove. We had 7 people over the course of the night. Actually, we had 8 people over the course of the night because we stole an X-Wing player for a little bit.
Nice. And one of the guys from Northern California, John, went all the way down to Los Angeles.
Yeah, John, who I actually play with him in David's Star Trek Adventures campaign.
Yeah. But
he's also Weebigo Killjob on Facebook, solving a long-standing mystery for me of exactly who the heck that is. So it was a lot of fun, and I gotta tell you, by the way, so the X-Wing player, so after we did the one we broadcast, we did a 3-on-3 peak performance with each of us taking a 50-point ship, and the Nathan, the X-Wing player we stole, he was like, "How does any of this work?" And I just look at him and I go, he was flying Alpha Hunter that somebody else made. And look at him and go, after you move, you can barrel roll as a free action. And he's like, oh, I got it. And I have never seen somebody fly that ship so well.
Well, that's what Peter's strength is. Peter is an X-Wing pilot.
An X-Wing player would know how to barrel roll, that's for darn sure.
Yeah, seriously. And he, so for those who don't know, barrel roll is what X-Wing calls sensor echoing. So
but they can only use one template, I think.
Right, but so can Alpha Hunter, right?
That's right, exactly.
So it worked out. It worked out beautifully for him. It was really impressive to watch. It was me, Braden, and John. Braden Bowe, who's one of the oldest and best players in Southern California. Versus a couple of new players and an X-Wing player. So we cleaned their clocks, but they gave us a really good game out of it.
I think that's actually a really interesting game to play for new people, doing peak performance with everybody getting 50-point ships.
Oh, peak performance is absolutely the best thing to play multiplayer because there's no player elimination.
Yeah. Well, we just ran that in Fremont, and Todd lost. But Craig won. And Craig actually had a really interesting build, including Weapon Zero, since it doesn't ever lose a shield.
Isn't it fun that we can talk about these things again, that these events are happening again? I'm really happy about that.
Well, they're not happening because of WizKids.
Let's not start throwing stones. The thing we did last night, there was no OP attached to it. We did peak performance because I suggested that scenario because I know the rules for it off the top of my head. But, WizKids wasn't involved in any of the events, in your event either, right?
No. But I think it is a testament to our communities that we continue to do these things. And I know Chris out of New Jersey runs different events. I think Nick is running a custom event. So we continue to thrive in an environment where there has not been much current news. But speaking of current news, we have more ships.
Yeah.
And dare we say we actually have drop dates?
I don't know that I 100% trust the starter drop date yet, but the faction packs are what, the 13th?
Yes.
All right.
I thought they were
December.
I thought they were the 3rd.
The WizKids system, best to my knowledge, said the 13th.
That doesn't even make... The 3rd is a Sunday. That doesn't even make sense.
Yeah, so
if you add in a 1 to it, then that answers the question.
Yeah, I don't trust the starter date though. I think it's going to be earlier than that.
But we'll see.
Yeah,
Maybe
we will see.
make you surprised.
Yeah, and we're getting pretty close.
However, the releasing of cards would indicate that the faction packs are coming before the starter because we keep getting faction pack release.
I think there's just more to preview from those, and they're going to be more exciting to people. So
Yeah, because there's 32. What? There's 32 or 34 cards in the starter set.
well, yeah, but if you put the two faction packs together, it's like 50.
Sure.
All right, so let's get to some of these new cards. We got more cards from Romulan and Dominion over the past week, and by the way, my intent is, barring the Thanksgiving holiday that's coming up, over which I'm sure
This is the release
previews.
of the Thanksgiving holiday one, right? Because this releases.
It releases, yeah, it releases, which is to say, the ones that we would be recording during the Thanksgiving holiday is my point.
Okay,
But-
first of all, Joseph doesn't recognize a true Thanksgiving, so he'll be around.
The point is,
I'll do the show
I
on
don't.
my own.
Yeah, I don't like my family, so I'll be around.
okay, maybe we actually can do one this week. Never mind. The point is, as long as these previews keep coming out, we are gonna keep bringing you our thoughts on them a little bit more rapid fire. Also, because we could do probably an hour-long show on a 3-card preview. Like we generally have a lot to say about these things, and we're happy to have the time to take them. So this may be another hour and a half show. So we'll see.
No, this is gonna be like the last show. I'm gonna check out for most of the Romulans. I'm gonna come in for the last one. I'm gonna butcher the card completely, forcing us to stumble straight into the Dominion, where you just hear me cry for 45 minutes.
Right, but like that show was also an hour and a half. So there you go.
And a good show.
And a good show. I mean, we like to think so. Anyway, but let's go ahead and get
No
started.
narcissist in this room.
Let's go ahead.
The sad truth is your tears sell. So, what are you prepared to sacrifice for this podcast?
Let's go ahead and get started with some cards. First up, we have Jarok's Scout Vessel. This is a Romulan Scout Vessel, stat line 1322. Ability is unique, obviously. Ability is activation phase. Place 2 time tokens on this card and target a friendly Romulan ship within range 1. The target ship may perform an action as a free action. It's got the Romulan... no, it doesn't quite have the Romulan bar, sorry. It has the Romulan Science Vessel bar, which is evade, scan, cloak, sensor echo. That's weird.
That's what the scout vessels have too, don't they?
Okay.
Yeah, I think Scout and Science both have the scan.
I have no idea.
That's
Do
target
do
lock.
you think I have ever run a Romulan scout vessel under any circumstances before? And
You're an acolyte of will. I would imagine that you had.
no, because at no point previous to this has it ever been correct to run a scout vessel or over science vessel. Anyway, the upgrade bar is tech weapon crew. It's all of 12 points. I think this is a really bad thing. It's very worrying to me because it implies to me that assume for a second that the generic has to be cheaper, right? So the generic has to be at most 11 points. You can't make the Romulan science vessel like the same, like the Romulan science vessel can't be more than 10, even if this generic's 11, so its generic can't be more than 9. And that's starting to get worryingly close into territory where gankers can just concede that many points and just have a third ship and not care.
I think 9 points is hard to steal. I think to bank on taking 9 points from an opponent is incredibly risky. So I respectfully disagree.
It depends on what captains they're running and if you're running Madrid.
9 points would... Yeah, okay, I'll buy that, Tucker. But 9 points would be tough. Like, there's risk to that, certainly.
There is, but on the flip side...
And it's a hard lose, right? If they're running Lee Nihilus, then you've lost.
Well, no, you just discard him first.
Or you have
we're
Lee Nihilus also.
Because here's the thing. If it's a 7-point ship, let's say, right?
Right.
Not 9, because 9's as by Tucker's logic, which if science vessels cost the same as scout vessels, I agree that would be weird, but I wouldn't rule it out. But anyway, if Tucker's logic holds and it's 7 points, Lee Nihilus and a captain, that's
Right.
getting you to 7 points.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but that's 2 actions. So I think the most effective ganking ones only want to spend one action to get the points.
No, I mean, ever since Jordan Cott threw Agony Booth and Second of Five together, it's very easy to see how it's possible to get two ganks on the same round, even in a ganking fleet.
Yeah, who putting 2 actions on a shuttle? That was smart of him.
And not only that, doing it without a crew slot. Agony Booth was an inspired inclusion. That's the one. That's the one thing I saw at Worlds this year, aside from the success of Two Feds, Two Fighters, which I sort of knew about anyway, and the warp jumping, which I definitely knew about anyway. Agony Booth was one of the main takeaways for me this year.
Going back to the card.
Yeah, going back to the card.
Yeah, so I think the ability is pretty much ruined by the fact that it's every other turn. And that it targets Romulans, but I think the every other turn is what kind of does it in for the ability that I don't like.
Look, the problem with this card is it has 3 restrictions, which is you can only do it every other turn, you can only target Romulans, and you can only target a ship at range 1. If it had any one of those, it would be fine. It would be good. If it had any 2 of those, it would be okay. As is, I'm pretty skeptical.
Oh, and something. Sorry to cut you off, Joseph. One other thing, it has been indicated, and we don't know the validity of this necessarily, but it's been indicated that the fact it says activation phase means that it actually happens at the very start of the activation phase, not when the ship activates, which is also an interesting mechanic.
Well, who indicated that?
That was Steven.
Did he?
Yeah.
All right.
I didn't see that.
Steven has to stop doing that. Like, we can't...
That's why I messaged you guys.
I know.
Like, this is a pretty big drop that this happens at the beginning. This might potentially happen at the beginning of the activation phase.
I mean, I see where it's coming from. It is a pretty straightforward reading of the rules, right? If you say that a card can happen during a particular phase, it has to come at the beginning.
Yeah.
But it also implies that you can use, for example, Mirror Spock at the beginning of the activation phase, which is...
So what Steven...
Card.
Yeah, what Steven indicated is that there will be additional clauses on cards that have different triggering times.
Well, that's... I mean, but that would just imply that... I don't know. That would just imply that anything that didn't have that trigger would happen at the beginning of the phase.
Yeah, I'm just passing information along.
Yeah.
Sorry, I just had to turn my alarm off there. So, if the activation phase begins before the first ship activates, or as the first ship's activating, which I agree makes sense, and now anything that says activation phase you have to do at that time, do all captains and cards that give you things you can do, like Picard 9, have to be done right then?
Let me look at Picard 9's exact wording. No, he just says... Picard 9 just says, each round you may perform one of the following as a free action. Which would
but then,
weirdly...
Isn't there a ruling that if it doesn't specify when in the round, it has to be during the activation phase? And then if that's true, then doesn't in the activation phase mean the beginning of the activation phase?
I agree. So let me read you Steven's comments real fast. And this is on the Facebook thread where this card was previewed. And he says, what is interesting is that it activates at the start of the activation phase, so the Romulan ships gets an activation before moving. I ask, it does not mean a ship's own phase, but it's the actual activation phase. And then Steven replies, some will say activation phase when this ship underlines, or when another ship is within range does underline, which has timing within the phase. If none is given, then it's the start of the listed phase or step.
Oh, okay. So, going forward will be fine. There's just going to be some old cards that are not going to work, as Correct. Maybe you might want them to.
Yeah,
well... There'll be some translation issue.
No, I mean, no. This is... That's a really problematic ruling, because if Picard 9 activates at the start of the activation phase, he can get his free action and take a red maneuver.
Well, right, that's what Joseph and I are saying. Joseph and I are saying that the old cards are going to have... Moving forward, it's not going to be a problem, although I think it will be a problem for different reasons. because I think it's more keeping track of things that's going to be an issue. Like, okay, this ship gets a free action at the action invasion phase. I'm going to give it a battle station or do something, and then remembering that happened. I think that's where the problem is going to come in. But,
well, look, let me tell you something. Actually, this goes to. So obviously we've had these delayed. Oh, you know what? No, we didn't get okay. So we've had these delayed quite a lot. And I can talk a little bit more about this with you guys privately because it involves some details I can't reveal in a broadcast. But there are things in conversation I've had that made me think that the major cause of this delay might actually be the expansion symbol. Because anything you add to the card, you have to go back and remake the entire thing. But here's the thing. Let me throw this at you. I really think they might be doing something. We mentioned this last week. I really think they might be looking at rotation. Because that would solve all of these issues.
Oh, yeah. I totally agree. I think we're talking... I think I mentioned this as a hypothesis that we know that they talked with Game Shop... What's the name of the game? GameWorks? Games Workshop, and they've talked with Wizards of the Coast, and someone may have said to them, "Hey, you guys should put on these things so you can do a rotation." And then Wizards like, "Oh, hey, that's a good idea," and that might have caused the delay.
Or they thought of it independently. I'll give them credit.
Or they thought of it independently, but I don't think they can do a real rotation of non-expansion cards for 2 years, right? 2 years? I don't think they're going to have enough supply out there in a year and a half to make an interesting fleet.
Dude, we played this game with the starter in Wave 0 back in the day.
Yeah, and it was...
Yeah, but not by...
It was totally fine.
Says the person who ran Klingons during the Dominion War.
Exactly. No, they need a large enough collection, and I think it'll take at least 2 years to get a large enough collection to start rotating out.
Yeah, so then they're definitely not.
Well, they could be. I'm not ruling it out, but I just think I don't think it can be a year.
I don't think they have a 2-year plan for this game. But hey, I'd love to be wrong.
No.
All right. Well, let's refocus here. We're getting off track. This card.
Okay. So the activation phase thing, that's important. I keep cutting Joseph off, so Joseph wants to say something really interesting. Except what I want to point out...
You just did it again!
No.
Go ahead.
I'm kidding, Joseph. Go ahead.
No, but I feel like it works better. This is a good... I'll go last.
No. We're at a wrap-up. So the only thing I had to add to that was this is basically just bad Martok 8, so...
I think that pretty much all of our comments, like that's a good point that like it's concerning about gagging, but I think as last week, our comments are kind of predicated on the idea that gagging is going to be fixed, right?
Yeah.
So, the generic, even if ganking is fixed, would have some competitive interest, right? Like this ability is terrible. The
cheapest ship in the game is always going to be competitively viable.
Exactly, and this cheapest ship in the game is gonna have 3 agility and white 1 turns. So I think that interests me. And if they drop one symbol, any of those 2 symbols are interesting on a ship that costs less than 10 points, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like even if you lose crew, right? Tech and weapon is still kind of interesting.
I think we've settled on the fact that they just go back to whatever the generics were.
Well, let me look up what the generic Romulan scout vessel was.
Oh. I can tell you it is not a weapon because I am so excited.
So, you ready for this? This is why nobody ever flies them. You want to hear the upgrade bar on the original Romulan scout vessel?
1 tech.
Tech.
Yeah.
Even that's not the end of the world, right?
Yeah, it's a cloaked mine, obviously, but like...
Well, or whatever, or it's... or it's cryogenic stasis, or the captain gets you the weapon, or whatever, right?
Yeah.
And that's my final thought on this. It has a weapon slot, so you put disruptor beams on here, and it's a 17.5 attack ship.
Yeah, for with no quality.
Well, that's what you put on Spock for target
But then
lock.
it's not 17 points, Robert.
Right, well, right, but okay, 20 points with Spock on it. 20
Do you mean
points for 5
22?
attack dice. 17, 22 points. Okay, so
Captain?
the what?
Captain Spock?
Captain Spock, yeah.
I don't know. The cheaper the better, right? I think so.
Yeah, right.
I don't know. I think the generic will be interesting. I think what really kills it is range 1. I think that even if it was every turn and it wasn't a Romulan ship, range 1 would just be devastating, because it's so much harder to keep it out of combat. Right?
Yeah. And cloaked mines.
And cloaked mines. So your opponent's just gonna, tag it for the points, and it's not gonna be. It becomes a X number of points attack cancel.
Right, but I think it pairs well with one of the, maybe it was Jarok. Yeah, it was Jarok. So I think he pairs well with things that are not going to do attacks that round that can help give support to your fleet. And people may not attack it because it's going to have 7 evade dice.
All right, but look. Right now, defending is starting to overtake attacking, but attacking is still the clear second best thing to do in the game, and that's not either of them.
And I would happily attack something with 7 evade dice that has 2 hull.
Yeah. I mean, look, as long as Matt Decker is played ever, that's not going to be great.
Yeah.
Well, that's true. So anyway, consensus is I think that the ability's no good. The generic will potentially be interesting to very interesting, depending on its cost.
But then there's the thing, is that I can't imagine the generic science vessel being at or more expensive than the generic scout.
I know, but the scout's got that 3rd evade die, right?
I'd rather it be cheaper.
What's that?
And but he'd rather it be cheaper. But I also think with the prevalence of cloaked mines in this game, that these types of ships are just not viable.
Well, that's the thing. Well, I agree. Cloak mines are a huge problem for it. But with 3 evade dice, you don't necessarily even have to cloak this thing, right? So.
Well, I mean,
sabotage system also does the ship in.
No, sabotage system makes this thing amazing.
No, because you give it one. It gives one attack or give one evade.
Yeah, but if it's cloaked,
amazing if it's cloaked. Yeah.
If it's cloaked, it gets 7 attack dice, Robert.
But you're never
gonna.
Yeah,
it's never gonna survive to do that.
But if someone wants to use sabotage system on my scout vessel, I'm not too.
Well, you're not running. I mean, you're
Yeah.
not gonna be running one, so
all right.
It'd be yours that I would be good on.
All right, so this is and the converse I'd say is this ability isn't great, but assuming you were going to make an ability of about this power level, this is about the best Romulan scout vessel you could possibly make. So I'm gonna give him an gold star for effort, but this is just a ship class. Ever since the VO first came out, I mean, it's just not. Nobody has ever run this ship class. There's no reason to do it.
I have.
Why?
It was Denatra's Chariot for a while there. But I think it's the ship ability. You're right. If you're gonna run it, if you're gonna make a ship that has the level of its ability is poor, then yeah, it's not gonna be any good. But if it had a good ship ability, it would be the ship class would build it back.
If you have an Alpha Strike that you're trying to build up and you need that second action on a ship, you're clearly going to get that second action.
FYI, nobody ever ran this as Denatra's Chariot because Apnix was wave 0.
They did run it because it had the 3 evade die.
Yeah, the 7 evade dice are amazing.
I don't remember that,
And
but okay.
And remember, the Vogue gets the free evade. Gets the free evade token for not attacking.
Yeah.
You know what? I do remember that now. Actually, when you bring up that ability, I do remember that now.
Which is a superior ability, I think.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, it's way better than this.
Not 4 points better, but anyway.
No, not 4 points better, but the abilities better. All right, so let's keep moving because there's still some good Romulan stuff to come. Exhibit A, Tomalak. Not a 3 point, not a 3 skill captain anymore. Let me assure you. We have here unique Romulan captain, 8 skill, 5 points unique talent. He adds a tech slot to your upgrade bar, and when attacking, you may re-roll 1 attack die for each tech upgrade equipped to it. This is core for tech, and it works if they're disabled. This is really good.
But is it better than core?
It's only not better than core because of the wharf crew that gives core +3.
Yeah.
So, and that, yeah, those work so well together. Right?
Okay, and 1 point Belana Torres and Saavik if there's a planet in play. I mean, there's
if there was a tech that cost 2 points and gave Romulan captains +3 captain skill, Tom Locke would be as good, if not better. He probably would be better.
Why do you think better? Because there's less things to interfere with tech?
Because he works on disabled ones too.
Oh,
There's
right,
a lot of
yeah.
good disabled techs, right?
Especially in Romulan. I mean, okay, advanced cloaking and then maybe some power grids. Okay, yeah.
But what you're going to use them with, I think, or what people will use them with predominantly, is interface generators. And those aren't ideal because they discard. But often, to maximize the value of an interface generator, you're taking defensive abilities and a way to get battle stations, because interface is the one card in the game where before it cancels the attack, so to speak, it lets you roll the dice to see what's going to happen, right?
Right?
So it actually takes people a while to knock through and get you to use your interfaces. And while you're spending your battle station on defensive quality, Tomahawk's allowing you to attack back with rerolls.
All right, you know what? Let me actually throw something at you, Joseph. I think that the Romulan tech captain skill booster may not actually be necessary here because you build for defensive survivability, right? But if you don't need the battle stations, then you have it for his attack. And you'll know because your skill is slightly lower.
Yeah, that's actually a very good point.
Okay. And I think what you do in this situation is you run 3 interfaces, so you're overcorrecting for his ability a little bit. That way, even if you have to spend 1, you're still rerolling 2 dice.
How many dice do you want to reroll typically?
You want what you wanted.
I mean, on my Daedrix, when I fly him on the Daedrix, I just want him to reroll, 1, right? Because the other 2 are going to be hits.
Yeah, you don't do that. So, Joseph, what were you going to say?
You want to reroll blanks. It's not the number, it's the type.
Right, but like, how many of those do you expect in a given roll? Let's say you're on a scimitar and rolling 6 dice.
Well, I think 2 is pretty nice.
Okay, then I'll take it. Yeah.
I mean, it's gonna because then even if you have a disastrous, you roll 1 battle station and 5 blanks, and you re-roll 2 of them, and get 1 even, that's a pretty good nightmare scenario. That's still 2 evades, right? That's bad, but that's your nightmare scenario. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but that's defensive rerolls. I'm talking about attack rerolls.
Oh, how many attack rerolls do you want? On a scimitar?
Yeah, it's 6 dice.
At least 3.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, Robert. I think you need more than 2.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. You have 3 interfaces.
Yeah,
And
but
then
if you
had, go ahead.
I feel like you would want 4, and then you could keep 3 if you needed them.
Well, there's no. That's 12 points.
Shuttles.
17 points.
No, you need a slot. You need a slot to roll them over.
And if you're taking shuttles, just use warp jump.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Are we assuming that's going to get fixed when we do evaluations?
I'm honestly thinking nothing gets fixed, but
Well, we might as well assume, because if ganking doesn't get fixed, then
Yeah, if ganking doesn't get... Yeah,
we can end the show now. None of these cards are playable.
yeah. I mean, we can literally end the show, the entire podcast. All right, so playable cards are Second of Five and Warp Jump. We'll see you never. Until then, dials down. You be generous with your dice. I mean, that's it, right?
And the other thing is, I don't think you need 3 rerolls for every one of your attack. That's just what you want to start out with, right?
I guess that's true. Yeah, because as you get them down, more damaged, if you don't Alpha Strike and kill them, then the amount it takes to kill them gets less and less, so you need for your rerolls. Alright, I can buy that. Tom Malek, he's amazing. Let's move on.
I still don't think I'm still on the board that he doesn't get played.
And why is that? Because of his captain skill?
Yeah, because I think if you're dipping into a captain skill, you're taking core before you're taking him, right? Because the captains you're taking are Picard, Gen Con, and core right now, and I don't see him disrupting any of those.
Yeah, that's the point we were making. You don't care about captain skill,
right?
Other than you always want to attack before fighters, so it's actually kind of a sweet spot,
right?
But if you're defensive and want to attack last, so that if you can save your battle station, you can use it.
Yeah.
Then 8's fine for that.
So you're saying put him on the Voyager?
Well, Voyager can't use an interface generator.
Right, but it has 2 tech slots, so
but
you can put
the entire
on there.
No, the entire point is to use interfaces. You'd need like a hell. You know what? Put him on the Suran.
On Voyager, you could run 3 power grids, him and Pegasus Riker, and that's very close because you're not usually running core on a Klingon ship anyway. So he's 3 points. Mm-hmm. So it's 1 more point for Pegasus Riker. So he's only one worse than that, and that power grid thing is probably better than having Chekhov.
It's not better than Chekhov, but it's just it's equivalently as good.
No, dude. I mean, you can put Chekhov on there too. Voyager has 3 career slots. ¿Por qué no los dos? Right? Like.
Yeah, and in some ways it is better though because it can take Ox tokens that your opponents give you from Transwarp or from Front or from whatever.
Exactly. So I think he's quite good. I think he's quite playable. I think you know what else you could do with him. You know, here's the thing. Check this out. You could put him on a bioship with biological technology.
That's sweet.
And a couple of organic conduits.
No, you put him on with 4 organic conduits.
I don't think you have the points for that.
Yes, you do.
No,
you mean dumping biological technology and just putting 4 organic conduits on there? Yeah, that's a thing.
Yeah.
And what's your action evade?
Target lock. Co-pilot.
You're getting the rerolls.
Oh, you're already getting the rerolls. Yeah.
It's evade or scan. Probably evade.
Probably, yeah. You know what? Put it on bioship. I was just gonna say put it on bioship beta, and then you're just dealing with 2 damage every turn. Biological or not using biological technology, but co-pilot gets you the battle stations. You still got 2 natural dice. I could buy that for $1.
If co-pilot gives you a battle station and you have rerolls on a bioship, that's pretty good. It's just the captain skill hurts in there.
Yeah, it does. But whatever. I mean, like we're talking. This guy has potential. I don't know that he's not going to knock out like JLP9 or Q female right now, but like he's got interesting potential. All right, let's keep moving.
I think and I guess the point is if you're building defensive, you don't necessarily need high captain skills. So maybe he is the premier defensive captain right now.
Yeah, well, I mean, we'll see. I'm curious to see what people will do.
Yeah, I am too. All right, moving not so rapidly along. Romulan medical team. Non-unique Romulan crew, 3 points, range 1 to 2. Action: discard this card and target a friendly ship. Remove 1 disable token from all crew upgrades equipped to the target ship. I don't think this is good enough. It's good, but it's not good enough.
I think it works well with a clown car. Like if you're running 1 or something, Like we haven't seen one Voyagers in a while, but I
One
think it will
discards.
right. But then you're doing the Lee Nihilist, Beverly Crusher.
All of
kind
whom would discard.
How was somebody doing it?
Probably with
There was some way
Wayne.
to recur. There's some way to recur. Oh, maybe it was with Wei Yun or something. I can't remember. There's a way to recur it, but
Yeah, there's tons of ways.
Yeah, no,
But
yeah.
with Wei Yun. But with Wei Yun.
Yeah, and that's the thing, right? That's ultimately the thing holding this card back is right now disable action economy is so insanely good that there isn't really a place for this card. It's not because this card is bad. It's because Phlox and Lenalis and the Doctor and all of them are just amazing.
I guess that's what it would be. That's actually kind of awesome. So it would be Wei Yun, Lee Nihilus, 7 of 9, 1. Right, so that gives you Battle Station.
No, it would be Wayne, Lenalis, Phlox, Crusher, and 1, and you'd have to get a crew slot somewhere.
No, because because it's a discard anyway, so you can only do it.
No, because Robert, if Lenalis is disabling for Wayun, he can't disable for Phlox, so you need 2.
No, that's why I'm saying you have Romulan medical team on the other. If you have Wei Yun, Lee Nihilus, 7 of 9, and 1 on one ship, and Romulan medical team and Gaval on a second ship, then you could use this ability.
But you are better off just using Martok 8.
Well,
This is-
I don't think that's true.
You're actually better off using Jarog's scout vessel.
I don't think that's true.
Yeah, I don't think that's true because you don't do this on a Romulan ship.
I'm trying to cover these cards.
I think this card is good. I think you're misjudging it because it's new ground a bit because it's not on the ship. So whereas Phlox, Beverly Crusher, Lenalis is better, that's 3 crew slots.
Yeah, but
Where you're going to see him used is some 3 or 4 crew combination that involves disables, and that takes up all the ship's crew slots, right? Because the Phlox, Lenalis, Crusher is 3 slots, and you haven't done anything yet.
yeah, I mean,
What ship are you losing your action efficiency on to run him?
that's my main objection.
So are you saying you run him with Picard? Like if you run him with Picard 9, you'd rather do his action than just target lock battle station with Picard 9?
Well, it depends on what he's doing to the other ship.
Well, it surprises Joseph. What is he doing for the other ship? Give us a scenario where this card works.
Well, what are the engines that Phlox, Crusher, and Lenalis are powering?
Wayun.
And that's it.
I'm trying to
So
think.
disable
I know
the
there's
third
other
one.
stuff.
There's EMH. There's EM Pulse.
Yeah, there you go. EMH Pulse. There's
Losier, maybe.
no.
Losier shenanigan?
There's not a disable weapon good enough right now.
Yeah, they're not doing.
Varel maybe.
They're not. They're just crew. Anyway.
Well, the other thing.
Isn't it? Archer. Archer would be a good example.
No, Archer's terrible.
Archer's phenomenal.
Archer is terrible.
I don't know if there's. I guess I would say that you could make an argument that just not having to, if you could run this guy instead of having to run Wayne as your captain would be a huge boon.
Right.
Oh,
But
you know what it actually does well with is the Valjean.
Okay, hang on. It does go well with the Valjean, that's true, but you don't. Wait, the point of Wayne is use him with discard crew. You don't use him with disable crew. There's no point in using Wayne with disable crew. Just use Phlox.
Yeah, that's true. And Lenalis is going to discard instead, so he doesn't work for them. So I don't know. Maybe if you did have something like 7 of 9, Chekhov, and 1 other crew to do 3 things, and then this guy on the other ship.
But again, you could like let's flip this way, right? You could have 7 of 9, Chekhov, and Phlox. And in every round, you get an action, and it's to re-enable Phlox, and you get your full quality.
Yeah. By the way, when we mention Chekhov, let us not forget lovely Natasha Yar is an option.
She works every other turn and only rerolls 3 dice. Just use Chekhov.
She's time tokens, isn't she?
She's
That's-
time
yeah.
tokens. And but she adds 2 weapons to your adds 2 weapon slots to your ship.
Just use Sakona and Chekhov.
If you had a ship ability that took an action, check off, and 7 of 9, and then another disable crew just for bonus points, that's starting to get somewhere.
Okay.
That's a pretty contrived circumstance, though.
Oh, well, it's not contrived at all. It's now something that you can look at, whereas before you never could, because you can't put the 3 other crew on your ship to enable it, right?
And I will say with the lower point ships, we have more flexibility with the 50-point rule, so you're going to see more upgrades on ships.
All right, well, let's see how this one plays out. I'm not sold, but it's not like this ability is bad, right? Like the ability.
The only point I'm making about the ability is that it's new space. It's does something that no other card does.
Uncharted territory?
That's true.
Uncharted territory.
Are we boldly going somewhere, Joseph, with this card?
So I think that means that there is a potential for it to do something. I don't know what the right meta of it will be, or the right use of it will be. We'll see. Maybe nothing, but for that reason alone, I think it's certainly. You can't. It's hard to dismiss it, and you can't. I don't think you can dismiss it based on how good other cards are, because it does something different.
All right, we'll see.
I think we can all agree that Ellis is correct, and that the Romulan cards are just simply trash, and we can just move on to bigger and better things.
No.
We'll maintain the Ellis. We'll maintain the Ellis party line.
All right, whatever.
For Larry.
Whatever you say.
But speaking of cards that are trash.
Kill Lana.
Let me get these tiers. Let me get them ready.
All right, here we go. 4 skill, 2 point Dominion unique captain has an elite talent slot. When a tech upgrade equipped to this ship would be disabled, you may place 2 time tokens on it instead. Okay, so I was arguing with people for like a full day about why this card is bad. But I thought of another example. All right? You guys ready for this?
I'm as ready as I'll ever be, I'll say that.
No one runs Bounty Kirk.
Okay, and I think we can move on to the next card. I think that pretty much settles all of this.
And keep in mind, Bounty Kirk has a higher skill and gives you a discount to all the cards he puts time tokens on. It's one more time token, but it doesn't matter, because every other round just isn't good enough.
You know what Kirk people don't run that I thought they would is Battle Station Kirk.
It's not actually giving you more quality. It's just he effectively says, action, take a battle stations, and fiddly things.
Right. I mean, basically, it's controlling a little bit for variance.
Yeah, but like,
if I roll blank.
Yeah, in a world where Copilot exists, just take Copilot.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's not talk about him. So there are a couple of uses that people have come up with that deserve mentioning. Number one, in order to use her effectively, you have to have 2 copies of whatever you're doing. So all unique tech upgrades are out, and she's pricey to do what she does. EM Pulse has been mentioned. I'm going to stop you right there, Tucker, because I remember when flagships and fleet captains removed disable tokens from tech, and I thought it was the greatest thing in the entire world until I learned that there's 3 techs with disabled. Yeah,
there's more now, but there's not a lot of great ones.
Yeah, I don't think there are any good ones. I think EM Pulse is about it.
Isn't there like a 1 point or 2 point Dominion tech that disables to like cancel a hit or something? Or
the Romulan one. Yeah, the Romulan one would do it. It came on the prototype. So that could do it.
I think then that's probably prototype only, but I'll double check.
Power Grid, maybe?
Power Grid is the other one people keep mentioning, but here's the one that I am most interested in. Yeah, it's the disable to place an evade token, even if there's one already there. It costs 8 points if not on a drone ship. So, the hell with that.
No, there's one that just cancels a hit, doesn't it?
It's a Romulan tech.
Polarized hull plating converts a critical to a hit.
Crit to a hit, yeah, but it's not.
And there's a discard one, but it's not a disable.
You guys at home are... Oh, here it is. It's... Oh, yeah, this would work. Reinforced hull plating. When defending, during compare results, you may disable this card to cancel a hit or crit result. So she just always takes 1 less damage per round?
Wait. Well, now we're because remember the prototype 2 has those techs. Oh, it can't go on. She can't go on the prototype.
No,
2.
she can't.
And so what was the name of the card? Reinforced?
Reinforced hull plating. It's not faction locked and it's not unique, so you could run 2 of them. Alright, but none of those are really good enough to justify the expense of running them. I mean...
A 4-skill captain.
Yeah, and that too,
you can
right?
run 4 of these and cancel 2 hits every turn?
I don't think that's good enough.
Well, it just depends on if you could get it. If you could get it on the D.
Like, if we get this on the... If you... Oh, God, but you're now...
What, with shield adaptation?
Yeah.
How are you going to get... Well, they could get 2... Okay.
5 tech, that's what...
No, hang on. You could maybe do it. You have... No, not the Dauntless.
It might be worth a shuttle.
Maybe.
I mean, because the problem is if you have 4 of those reinforced hull platings, and shield adaptation, and the Enterprise ability, and her, then that's 5. That's 5 hit. Like they have to do 6 hits to put anything through on you. Assuming your evade dice doesn't hit.
5. Okay, let me think about this. Can you get 5 tech slots on the D? It's tech, weapon, crew, right? So you can put shield out. You can put systems upgrade in the weapon slot. That's 2. Quark is 3. Balan is 4, and Eric Motz is 5. If you have the points, you can do it.
What about running her on a bioship with 3 of them?
Yeah, I mean, it'll stick around, but it's not going to do much.
Yeah.
Because you've got a 4 captain skill on a 90-degree arc ship.
Also, you can't fit her and 3 of them on a bioship. Not even the cheap one.
Yeah. So even though she's 2 points and an elite talent, she's about as promising as a 4-skill can get. But
well, the one thing I will say is this though. As we know, time tokens are mostly the new paradigm for weapons. If we get a really strong time token weapon, an interesting option is 2 copies of rapid reload.
Yeah, maybe. What was the other thing I was thinking with that?
this
go ahead,
upgrade
Jason.
counts as a I'm just reading rapid reload.
It is a 2...
It counts as. So
counts as. Right.
Ugh. You're only allowed to place 1 on it at a time, so you do have
Right, that's why you have 2...
No. You're thinking of Arsenal. Rapid Reload says you can disable it to reduce the number of time tokens for the weapon to 1. So what you do is...
you fire the weapon, disable this, put 2 time tokens on it.
Next turn, fire it, put 2 time tokens on the other one. At the end of the turn, time tokens come off the first one.
I don't think that's very good.
Well, no, it's not right now. It's terrible right now. But like, if we get a really imagine they make a weapon, right? That's like 15 dice, and
it would have to be better than the best weapon in the game, right?
Yeah.
Like if it was if it was a mag charge with time tokens, it wouldn't be worth it.
If it was a mag charge, if it was a mag charge with time tokens, you could use it with Scotty in this.
Yeah, but I'm saying if you switch Scotty.
TOS Scotty, 5-die mag charges every turn.
Right. So is that good enough? Is my question.
5-die mag charges every turn. That's pretty good, dude.
At Captain Skill 4 with no shield, with 2 less shields.
Yeah, that's tough.
I think we are demonstrating how hard we are willing to work to make the card functional. And
yeah, this is not. I mean, she's just.
General consensus is she's terrible.
And like you can't even use her as a talent holder now because Q exists, right? Like.
We have a general consensus on this card.
I think she's tier AA, right? So bad that it falls off the first cycle of the alphabet.
What? You use alphabets for your tiers? Who does that? Super Smash Brothers players do, I guess. Alright, let's keep moving. Next card, Lamat Ukan. Side note, I don't remember where any of these Jem'Hadar are from. Like, I don't recognize any of them, and I don't know any of their names. So, like, you might as well call...
They're all one-off episodes.
Yeah, and, like, that's the thing. It's like, you might as well call this guy generic Jem'Hadar number 3. Anyway, he's a unique Dominion crew upgrade 2 points. When attacking, if this ship spent its target lock to reroll its attack dice, this ship may convert a blank into a hit. This is as close as you're going to get to a target lock Bohica or Breenade.
And it's exactly what it is. So, how many blanks are on an attack die?
4.
2.
4.
No.
2. 2. You're right.
You're right. Okay. So Tucker and I discussed this, and we both got it terribly wrong.
Yeah.
But if you have a ship target lock, I don't think you have good odds of rolling a blank on your second set of dice.
All right, let me think about that. If you roll 4 dice, you're expecting 1 blank. Yeah, that's not great.
Yeah, so that's why I don't particularly like this, is because the blank conversions from Bohica and from Breenade are from the first roll, not from the second roll.
They are. He is not as good as Bohica, but he can help ships that don't have battle stations and just have a target lock.
Yeah, and
right.
It's also worth mentioning, by the way, Bohica is an extremely underrated card. Bohica is very powerful.
Yeah, so underrated. None of us on this podcast have run him in competitive play in forever.
Well, I don't. I have target locks and battle stations, and I don't do anything less than that.
Right, but that's the thing, is like, if you're feeling frisky about it, you can actually just take Bohica and not take the target lock.
The combo I actually liked was Bohica and Breenade, and then doing battle station scan on 5 attack dice.
Yeah, that's not okay. Whatever you say, but like,
that's
because
good.
It's great. They're minus 1 attack die, and you're converting 2 blanks on 5 dice.
But Bohica is a tool for ships that can take battle stations.
Right.
This is a tool for ships that cannot take battle stations.
But
he or she is Dominion, and all Dominion ships can take battle stations.
A lot of them.
None of the Gallers can they?
Keldon's can.
Yeah, no, you're right.
Gallers.
Yeah, I keep conflating.
Who cares?
Dominion race with the Dominion faction. I guess you can't even call the Dominion a race.
Anyway, the point is, everybody can take battle stations because co-pilot.
That day will end.
In like a year and a half, Robert.
A year now.
But your co-pilot is also normally, it's going to go to the same ship, right? Almost every turn.
Yeah.
I find that in my builds anyway, right? Like, this is my co-pilot
You identify
ship.
the ship. Yeah, you identify the ship that's getting co-pilot.
So if your other ship doesn't have battle stations as well...
What are you running?
Then you're going to run... Well, we'll see. If there's... Why actually I think that could become more relevant is... I think Cloak is going to come back, and if you're running one Cloak ship, you're kind of incentivized to run all Cloak ships, right? Mm-hmm. And most Cloak ships don't have battle stations.
All right, that's fair enough. In fact, I don't...
But would you take her, or would you take the crew, the Dominion crew that gives everybody battle stations?
This is a woman?
Or him. I don't know.
This is a guy. I don't
It's a guy.
She's tough.
think we see any female gem. Aren't Jem'Hadar agender?
They are.
She could fight my battles for me.
Okay, look. Long story short, also, in case anybody thinks we're ragging on Lamatakan, we're saying that our evaluation is Lamatakan is not as good as a card that defined large segments of this game's early meta.
Yeah.
What did Bohica stand for? Bend over something. I can't remember.
Yeah, there was something like that. But Bohica on Keldons, right? For people who wanted to play Dominion Pure, because people did that a lot more back in the day, you could just run a couple Keldons, right? You put Gul Dukat on one, and you could put Bohica on the other. And that pretty much did it.
Well, and back in the day, 4 attack dice was very viable,
Mhm.
and 5 attack dice was the high point.
Mhm.
And I'm pretty sure that Battle Stations Bohica on 4 dice is the same as Targalok Battle Stations
Yes.
on 4 dice.
It might even be on 5 dice. I haven't done that
And
math.
and it's very close on 5, and then 6 is where they sort of
It's just a
separate.
tip off, yeah.
And it's why I'm surprised I don't see Bohica more, because all these Fed ships with upgrades, they're 5 die ships.
Well, he is not quite as good on 5 dice, but it's close.
No, Lamatakan? Yeah, no, he's not good. That's good.
I think because
Bohica.
people are taking other things like Sakona's system upgrades, and I just think he's lost his value. And Joseph's right. Most Fed ships are doing battle station target lock anyway.
Yeah.
Because the competitive people are running Hathaways, which is designed to do Targalok Battle Station, right?
Exactly. All right, let's keep going, because I think we got one more to do here. Is that right?
2 more.
2 more. Oh yeah. Oh, how could I forget? We got the big guns. Oh, geez, I'm gonna have to explain this again. Okay, so we have Disruptor Cannon. Hilariously, this is not a picture of the weapon. This is a picture of the weapon hitting Deep Space Nine, which I find very funny. Because it literally,
right? Because it can one shot DS9.
no,
Yeah, it can with all power to the weapons.
no.
Then yes, it could.
Yeah.
They'd
2-9
have to get a direct hit.
No.
No.
Deep Space
Space
Nine.
Nine's got 16, 8 and 8.
Oh, that's right. It applies on both, and it would be 9 and 9, so that would be 18. Yeah, I could easily do that. Okay, but anyway, the picture of this weapon is only in the lower right quadrant. 3/4 of this card is a picture of Deep Space Nine and nothing else.
I gotta say, I actually love this picture. I think it's showing the power of the weapon. We don't need to see the monster. We just need to see what the monster can do.
And that's create a bright light outside the Deep Space Nine model, apparently, because there's no visible damage here.
Well, they don't have budget for that damage on their models.
All right. So anyway, Disruptor Cannon is a 3-point Dominion unique weapon upgrade. It can only go on Jem'Hadar battleships, and realistically, it can only go on the one from this pack for a reason we'll talk about in a second. It rolls 6 dice at 1 to 2. It says, attack, spend this ship's target lock token, discard this card, and target an opposing ship. Perform this attack twice against the target ship. Here's the thing. It shows the secondary arc icon. Now, the Dominion battleship from this pack has a 45-degree forward-facing secondary arc. Guys, I want you to listen to me really carefully. This is a secondary arc icon, not a rear arc icon. There is no such thing as a rear arc icon. Are we all clear on that? Great.
Yeah, I got that confused. As well. I think they are hindered by the choice of imagery that they're using.
Yeah, I feel like maybe a more effective one would have been like an arc with a dotted line.
Right.
Or something.
Even facing up or down. Yeah.
It's an easy mistake to make. I certainly made it, but
No, I made it
once you
too.
know, you know, right?
Yeah.
It's not like you're gonna forget. So I don't think it's that bad.
Yeah. It's just a weird sort of non-intuitive thing that it's going to take somebody a second to get. But hey, if this becomes more common, forward-facing secondary arcs, then hey, people will pick it up fast. Anyway, the major limiting factor of this is it's fired out of a 45-degree arc on one of the worst maneuvering ships in the game.
Oh. And by the way, Tucker, rear firing arc is actually a thing.
No.
Yes, all the photon torpedoes say you may fire this weapon from your forward or rear firing arc.
Well, that's stupid because then you can't fire them from either of those arcs because the rulebook explicitly says primary and secondary arcs are the terms for them.
I'm curious, is that a change in the rulebooks?
Yes.
What torpedoes? Old torpedoes or new torpedoes?
Old torpedoes.
Well, there you go.
Well, what are people going to do now those are unplayable?
I think... Yeah. Oh no! Photon torpedoes are unplayable! What a shocking change in the map of this. I can't even get through the sentence.
Do we have new photon torpedoes?
Yeah. Whatchamacallit? The ones from the Klingon guy.
Oh yeah, the Raptor one. Do those say forward or primary and secondary?
Those might not be able to be fired out of either.
Well,
I'll look it up. But
so you want to read the text on this guy?
Oh yeah, hey, we should probably do that. I already did that. I already did it.
Okay.
I did it before we talked about the arc. So it's a 6-die weapon that shoots twice. Is the short version.
It pairs amazingly well with all power to the forward weapons.
Yes, because then which, by the way, we are starting to have our doubts about as we try to find a practical application for it. But this is one of them.
You are. I am well past having doubts about that card.
This is one of them because then you're shooting a total of 18 dice.
Yeah, but to get the battleship to maneuver to get somebody in that 45-degree arc,
you have to, because it's range 1 to 2. That's the problem.
Oh, here we go. So, sorry, in the rules it says forward firing arcs are now referred to as primary firing arcs, and rear firing arcs are now referred to as secondary firing arcs.
That's terrible. Sorry, Wiz kids.
No, that's fine. It just makes it simpler going forward. And all the cards that are made more confusing are photon torpedoes, which should have been burned to get through the winter years ago, right?
Yeah.
It is cold to death, though.
To make this something you can reliably fire on the battleship, you're gonna, and to make it probably worth it, you're gonna want that talent. So that's 5 points. You're going to need a high captaincy, which is really challenging with just a Dominion captain, which is the requirement for that talent.
Right.
You're probably going to need a forced or at least a Romulan pilot, something to give you some extra maneuvering. And you're going to need
I think you almost need you need directs as well, because if you're having 2 attacks, you need to get that quality on both sides.
You're gonna need quality. So what you need, so even if you lay off on the talent, because I just don't think you have enough points. You definitely don't on the name, so we'll see what the generic costs. And then at that point, is it worth it? That's what.
Well, we don't know how much the name is. We've only seen.
You could, and I hate myself for saying this, but you could run what's her name, the 2-point Dominion captain chick from earlier, and she's a Dominion. Yeah, she's a Dominion captain that can take the talent. So that's 5 points between her and the weapon, 10 between her, the weapon, and the talent.
A captain skill of 4 is unacceptable.
Of course it is, but it's how you fit it on there.
Because your shields are going down.
Well, then you can shuttle. I don't know. Then you can shuttle in Gold Ducat.
Why don't you pair this with Ellington or something where you can look at somebody's dial and then change your dial?
Because those cards are terrible, Robert.
I'm trying to make it work.
What's the cheapest we can build it? So whatever the battleship costs, because that's right. I was thinking of the battlecruiser. What's the name battlecruiser cost?
Is it? It's 31 right now.
Yeah.
No, it's 33.
33. It got a 1 point discount. So I don't think the name battleship will be cheaper than 33, right?
I mean, it's got to be.
We'll say 35.
Yeah, 35 is.
So that's
So
15 so this
35.
is 15 points.
So this makes it 38 with this weapon, and then you can take con. So you're definitely going to get to fire it.
No.
So that's
Okay, well, yeah, but then you don't get all power to weapons.
right.
Hey, yeah, don't you?
No, because you need a Dominion captain for that.
Oh.
But-
Oh, right.
So
Well,
that's
look.
That's 42. What's the cheapest way you can get quality on both attacks?
Dress.
Well, here's. I don't think you can get quality on both.
Well, you can get. Oh man, you need to take a target lock action too.
Oh, God. Kira on...
Is a Bajoran captain.
Just say Jarek Scout Vessel. Oh, no, damn it. Jarek Scout Vessel is...
Romulan.
Yeah,
How do you have Kira on Jarek
this-
Scout Vessel?
Barring a very cheap generic battleship, this card does not.
Yeah.
Because what we've just described doesn't even get us all the way there, and we're pushing at 50 points, right?
Now.
And and if this fired 2 6-dice attacks with quality at max captain skill on a battleship, I'm not sure that's worth 50 points, and I don't know if we can do that for 50 points.
Yeah.
So it's
Now, there is one thing I will say about this card.
Go
It
on.
does make me a little bit glad about the triphasic emitters ruling.
No.
yeah, that's for sure.
Well, no, because... Oh, yeah. I guess somebody's secondary arc could be someone's reverse arc.
Yep.
Yeah.
That is a blessing.
Because
It shows why that was a rule.
well, here's the other thing about it, right? And I've been thinking about this. If
I
it
think
went,
we need to, before you go, I think we just need to acknowledge WizKid's foresight to know this card was coming 2 years down the pipeline.
so let me
You have it to your
let me make this lay this out even further. Right, I was thinking about this. If upgrade restrictions don't apply to triphasic emitters because the car is never deployed, right? That would also mean uniqueness wouldn't apply because the card is never deployed to your fleet. So it doesn't matter how many of them you have. So you could just do this over and over, and that would be disgusting and broken. And all right, it's not how triphasic emitters should work, but I'll grit my teeth and say it's necessary.
WizKids knew all along.
why we
Tucker,
don't
I think you owe them an apology.
No.
why we don't like this card is because it's not competitive. But you know what I actually do think is that if it will be a very nice breath of fresh air for people in metas where there's just a lot of jousting.
Actually,
And
you know what?
You're going to sweat it too. When you see this out on the field, it's going to force you to fly better.
Actually, I'll tell you what.
Yes.
You know what it's going to be
That's
real.
true.
You know what it's going to be really fun with. One thing I've been doing for a project I've been toying with is going through old scenarios. This would be insanely fun in the scenario where you're a battleship and you have to scan. Your opponent is a Federation ship that has to scan you.
Yeah.
Because the Fed ship only gets like 40 points or something. So, they can dance in and out. But if they wind up in that secondary arc, oh god, are they in trouble?
Yeah. No, I think there's I will say competitively for 3 points, this might have a psychological impact on my opponent, which means that they fly suboptimally in fear of this card.
Yeah,
I agree it has a psychological impact, but did you say for how many points?
3.
So, but really for 38 points. If
Well, no, because this
the
is good
name
against fighters. It's 2 attacks against fighters. That's not bad.
No, I know, but you're not. If this could go on any ship, then it actually would be really good then. But the psychological impact you're getting means you have to run a battleship though too.
Yeah, and I don't like the range 1 to 2. Range 1 to 2 is difficult.
That is true.
Yeah, that's
especially
rough.
with this 45.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because range 3 is half of your range. In terms of space, right?
I see what you're saying.
In terms of sheer area, yes.
Yeah. So, you're losing half of the space without range 3 on this thing.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, I think there's use for it in casual play. I don't think it's going to see tournament play. The only time I think it'll see tournament play is if we get a lore for weapons.
No, I don't know. I don't think you're ever going to see. They will bend over backwards to prevent this from going on anything that is not a battleship.
Yeah, I agree.
I think they painted them in a box.
If we got a lore for weapons, it could go on this Jarek scout vessel.
Which doesn't have a secondary arc.
And if the captain also gave a secondary arc.
How would that even work? No. All right. We're not getting into that.
But I take your point. It could go on the Valjean, which has a secondary arc, and
is the Valjean with the secondary arc, or is it the other one, or is it the Gavroche that has a secondary arc?
It's the expansion pack one, not the not the Gavroche.
Yeah.
Not the booster one.
All right. So on to the last card, which is the Second Wing Patrol Ship. It's a 3-2-3-3 Jem'Hadar attack ship, obviously unique. It rolls +2 defense dice if there's another Jem'Hadar attack ship within range 1. Got the Fed Dominion bar. See, Dominion ships have battle stations. Evade target lock scan battle stations.
Gallers do not.
They're like the only one that doesn't. And
they're also the only one that's run.
Gallers? Nobody runs Gallers.
I have not seen anything Dominion but Gallers.
You're thinking of Keldons?
No. The Borg Gallers. Borg Gallers, Reklar.
The assimilated Galar class. Yeah, that doesn't have battle stations. That's true. Anyway, upgrade bar is tech weapon crew 16 points. Wow, I really thought they couldn't do worse than the cruiser, but damn, son.
Okay. So I ran this ship on Friday on Tabletop Simulator, #plugs Tabletop Simulator. Everybody go get it.
Oh yeah, by the way, the reason I'm able to look through a list of all the scenarios ever made is because guess who put them on a spreadsheet?
Oh god, Chris.
What a saint.
Yeah.
He's the saint of attack wing.
Seriously.
Oh god. Two things would make this card incredibly playable from my experience. If it was a Jem'Hadar ship and not a attack ship, that way it perfectly synergizes with the battlecruiser, and if it were range 2. Because with the Jem'Hadar battlecruiser, this ship becomes a 3-5-3-3.
Right, but as is, you got to have the Robinson in range 1 of it.
Right, which is what I ended up doing. And so I needed the battlecruiser to be within range 1 of this with the Robinson on the other side. And
by the way, before anybody calls me out and says, you can run other things other than the Robinson, look me in the eye and tell me there's another Beetle you can run.
There's one more Beetle left to be spoiled. and with these two being so bad, with the two Dominion ships being so bad, what are the odds that the third's going to be as equally terrible?
Pretty good.
The rich get rich and the poor get poorer.
Yeah.
Morningtide's gonna fill out my Kithkin deck. That's when I learned that lesson.
But
hey man, I gotta tell you, I'm still hoping for slivers in Dominaria. Fingers crossed. Alright, go ahead, Robert.
Okay, so I think we can all agree that this card is subpar. I think we can say that of all the Dominion cards, one is potentially playable under a very obscure set of reasoning.
Well, listen though.
No. Hang on. Battle stations for everyone guy is good.
No, I just meant the 4 that we're looking at right now.
Oh, the 4 we're looking at right now? Yeah, one's borderline.
Lamat Ukun, I don't think is borderline. I think he's niche. And
that's a better way of putting it.
Control ship tells us though, like good slots, but we know what the generic will be, right? Which will be 1 of each.
Right.
And will be cheap. Cheaper than 16.
3-2-3-2. It's not surviving.
It's such a bad. I mean, that is.
Even if it flies next to the battle cruiser, and it becomes a 3-3-3-2, and you might as well just run drones at that point.
Look, listen. That is the point at which you can get a crit put on you with one roll of cloaked mines.
Yes, I agree.
And by the way, if you're running multiple attack ships within range 1 of each other, guess what's amazing against you?
Yeah. No, cloak mines are why we can't have swarm ships.
Right, but even outside of cloaked mines, a ship that only has 5 durability is going to die.
But at some price point, it's worth it, right?
Yeah, at 11 points.
But so it only has 3 attack too. So if it was a 4-2-3-2, I could maybe see it.
I know, but if these were 11 points with battle stations, because they have battle stations,
right?
Then you're just running one ship that's hard to kill with Dinatra on it.
I mean, well, look.
And they are.
Yeah, but you can't keep them all within range 1 of Dinatra. That's the problem.
Well, not forever. Maybe for one round of attacks.
So if you're saying,
look, here's what would happen. Okay, here's what would happen. It would be an incredibly ironic moment, right? Because you know that shot they used over and over and over in Deep Space Nine, where 2 Reliant classes form up with the Defiant, and then they both get completely destroyed. That's what would happen to the attack ships.
Yeah.
Well, okay. So I think swarm fleets are bad for a couple of reasons. One, we have an hour game, and they take forever to move. So you're really likely to lose at least one ship, and you could easily run into a time limit where you haven't killed one of their ships yet because you only got one round of combat. And I don't think that, unlike X-Wing, these ships don't have hard ones, and they don't have barrel rolls. So they're really hard to fly in formation of a range 1. That being said, the questions that we're gonna have to answer is, what is the cost? You know, like Will would always say that, like, if you could have a ship with 1 hull for 1 point, that would be broken, right?
2 points, but yes, it would be incredibly broken.
And I think that's probably correct. So, like, these are getting cheap enough that, like, they're not 2 points, but, like, they're not just 1 hull either, right?
Right, but they're also not.
So we need to know what that number is, right?
Yeah, but
Like,
look,
3-2-3-3 as a stat line that is playable at some number of points is what I'm saying, for sure.
Sure.
So what is that number of points? Because if there's not very many points to go down to 0.
But
so that's one question, and then just let me finish. And then the second point is that bumping is sometimes important in attack wing, but it's not as big of a thing because the ships still attack. So you're just taking away actions. If they roll lucky dice, you haven't done anything but give them range 1. You don't want to put your big 50-point ship in front of the other ship. The other problem is the dials aren't so perfect that you can set up bumps from far away that easily. But, you know, if these ships get cheap enough, then they can become bumpers too. And then that could really matter.
Right, but, like, here's the thing. When you get to a certain point, 3 dice, in my opinion, is not enough for an attack. So, effectively, this is just bumping and denaturang or something like that. And for this price, you very well may be able to buy 2 Romulan science vessels.
For the price for 16 points?
Yeah.
Well, we'll say close, within, plus minus 3.
There is a very real possibility that the generic Romulan science vessel is 8 points.
Yeah, that's true. If that happens, then because the Romulan science vessel has a better dial than these guys.
And they can cloak and sensor echo.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, actually, that's what I was looking up. I was looking up the Vespal to see if that was a better solution, because that's a 13.3132, and that has it does not cloak.
It has skin, but here's the thing. It has the exact same stat line as a D7. So once we eventually go back to TOS and get a D7, I mean,
This has battle stations, whereas the Vespath doesn't. Though that's the big difference.
D7s have battle stations.
Well, okay, if we go back, I guess we don't, and we certainly have not gone back now. So when these come out,
What do we know is coming out right now?
Oh, good news. Aha, I have good news. So I just got a solicit from my game store that indicates we are going to have a independent faction pack called a Motley Fleet for $29.99. We will have a animated series faction pack for
There's your D7. There's your D7 right there.
Gosh, and we have a Mirror Universe faction pack called the Kelvin Timeline for $29.99.
Yeah, I thought we knew about the Kelvin timeline one.
No, I'm just reading them off. And then we have
we knew
four
about
organized
all
skits. Four organized skits coming out.
but okay, this ship is coming out in 4 weeks. When's the animated series one coming out?
Yeah, there's no dates on here.
Yeah, so if this has a 6-month competitive run, which I actually don't believe it will now, because I think that the generic scouts and science vessels, I take that point, will be better. This will not be a good swarm ship compared to them.
And that's always been the problem with Jem'Hadar attack ships, is they have just been in this really awkward middle space between the truly cheap swarm ships and the actual combat vessels.
Well, there's never been swarm ships.
Yeah, all they needed to do was push this up to a 4 attack. If this was a 4 attack ship, if it was a 4-2-3-2 at 16 points, it is completely playable.
Yeah, but it's almost too good at that point.
All right, hey, question. Actually, let's say the generic's 14, right? This is going to be ludicrously expensive to do as a swarm, but what if it was a 4-2-3-2 because it is Type 8 phaser array?
Yeah, they're all going to have a weapon slot. So then it's 17 points for 4-2-3-2.
Yeah, that's pretty close.
Yeah. Actually, you know what? Let's just even say this. Let's just say, because we know that the generics don't always line up, let's just say it's 3 points. So you can get a 16-point 4-2-3-2.
Still dies to cloaked mines.
It dies to cloaked mines, and you're still running into that problem of they kill one of your ships and you just don't have time to kill one of their ships.
Yeah.
But if you have a swarm of 4 with battle stations, you should be able to kill one of theirs.
No.
And they're only taking 16 points, and they're only taking 16 points from you.
Robert.
So you don't even have to kill their strongest ship.
Robert, if you have a swarm of these with battle stations, even if you spend the battle stations on defense, a single 6-die attack with full quality can still expect to kill you if you're 4-2-3-2.
No, right, but okay, hang on. So how many can we get with 16 points? How many can we get?
7.
Siri, what's 130 divided by 16?
8 point.
The answer is 8.125.
8.125.
Okay, so we can get 8.
Yeah. 8. So that's not bad. So you can, in two turns of combat, you kill 2 of mine for a combined 32 points.
No, in 2 turns of combat, if you're going against a full fleet, I'm going to kill 4. Possibly more, depending on what the rest of my fleet is.
I should be able to get one of your ships.
Yeah, I'm going to get... Okay, so you get...
You're not... I don't think you are guaranteed to get one of their ships, because they're, like... Your attacks just aren't going to put a huge amount of damage through, right?
I mean, and God help you if you go up against 2 feds, 2 fighters.
Well, they just get...
Yeah, go ahead.
They get evade dice for every attack, right?
Yeah.
And they'll probably take an evade token in a battle station, right? So like 2 of the attacks are probably not going to do much damage, if any. And 2 of the attacks are going to do some damage, right?
Well, you have no quality on any ship, so on 4 dice you can expect to get 2 hits.
Well, why don't you have battle stations?
Because you only have battle stage. Oh yeah, you have, but you can just take the action. I'm an idiot. Never mind.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or what you also do is you take that one crew that gives them all battle stations so they can actually take the action, which is an evade, or take a second battle station.
Yeah, that's true. That is actually not a bad idea, because putting evades on them is interesting. Because you're probably not going to run 8. You're probably going to run 4 and a battle and a well, I think they want you to run that battle cruiser, but a capital ship.
Right. So speaking of that, this is what I wanted to transition into, is that I actually played the battle cruiser this weekend with the second wing patrol ship and the Robinson. And surprisingly, the second wing patrol ship was viable in that setting because of those 5 evades.
What were you
So
playing, Robert? What were you playing against?
It was a mediocre fleet. So I would not run the second wing patrol ship in a future build, and I would not run the Robinson in a future build. What I would run is the battle cruiser, the generic, for whatever the 31 points it is, Ducat Bohica, all power to main weapons, and aft weapons array. And I just think that is a 7 attack 360. It's a 7-die 360 attack basically.
How many points is it?
47, I think it is when all said and done.
It's good. I mean, I like the comment. It's 7 attack dice on a 360 is good.
And range 3, by the way. It's ranged 1 to 3. So you get. So I played it. It stopped warp jump in a lot of situations because they can't come in from behind you.
But don't you can't they kill you before they get to Ducat's captain skill? You don't have any shields.
Well, that's why you have to run Colo. So yeah, you have, and we talked about this a little bit. Colo, SETI eels, intercept. You need to keep that ship alive, but I think you can keep that ship alive and be justified to have a 7 attack dice at range 360. And remember, all power is not a discard either.
No, I know. That is interesting about it.
Right, so even if you warp jump away and try to come at me 3 turns later, I can just reactivate it.
Yeah, I don't. I thought it was more. I thought it was closer to 40. But I agree. I find that interesting. I do think it does some good work against warp jump. I just think, the problem is keeping it alive, right?
Go ahead.
My opinion is that Colo is so broken that if you're using him in a fleet, you should just be your fleet should just be winning, right? You shouldn't be using Colo to throw 7 attack dice. You should be using Colo to break the game.
Yeah,
I guess that's a fair point.
But SETI eels that's a really interesting way to do it, right?
I was just gonna say though, if you use broken cards, this ship becomes viable against a mediocre fleet.
No.
Those are all words that you all have just said.
No. I said that you need another. It would be better if there's another way to make him work other than Colo because of what Colo. And I also think that it's good against warp jump. But Julian Bashir might get you there too, right? So.
Right, that's what I was thinking. Julian Bashir with some kind of recursion.
Yeah.
Yeah, basically what you... Oh, go ahead.
The thing that I come up against with I think this is good. I'm just talking about it now. Mm-hmm. The thing that I come up about often is because I actually think dorsal phaser array on a Prometheus or Enterprise E is actually quite good.
Right.
But I always try and build it, and then I can always build 180 ships with extra movement cheaper than them.
Right.
And super high captain skill on them. And that's the same thing as having a 360, right?
Well, the 180 with good maneuverability and being a higher captain, yes, that would be, especially if you have force on there.
Yeah. So with that being the case, that's where it's that's where it gets into trouble, right? And they work good against it because they fire first.
Well, firing first isn't so. As we talked about with defensive builds and Tomahawk, it's not firing first that matters. It's just surviving those attacks.
Yeah, but this doesn't. This needs something else to help it survive, right?
Well, which I think is the direction of the game, that you're going to have like 2 combat vessels and 1 support ship, which is what we see what they're trying to do with Dark Scout vessel.
And that's what we already have, though, right? It's just that the support vessel is either a shuttle or 2 fighters.
Yeah, I guess to a certain degree.
Well, I don't know. We might if they get those science vessels cheap enough, like they might be viable.
But what would you do with them if the science vessels got cheap enough? What would you do with them?
Well, diplomacy can't go on shuttles now, right? So that's
Right.
how you. Run diplomacy.
I see. Yeah.
Like if a science vessel is 8 points, because what we're talking about is how you spend your last 30 points, right?
Right.
So a little bit more with 2 fighters, right? But close, 40 or 43 points, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if a shuttle is 12 or 16,
Mm-hmm.
and the science vessel is 8, maybe you can build it to 30 better than a shuttle now, with the understanding that like you can put higher cost cards on there too, right?
Right.
Like if you want to use diplomacy, you're going to use the science vessel to do it.
Yeah.
And we can get techs on shuttles that cost 5, but we can't get talents that cost 5 on shuttles.
You can do it, it's just painful.
Just not worth it.
It's painful to do. You have to use Calvin Hudson and Marlena Moreau.
So the science vessel slots are tech and crew. Oh, that's not bad.
And even those two the faction would have to be correct.
Quartz Treasure.
No. I'm just saying on
Quartz Treasure
a
just does crew and tech.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right, isn't it?
Go
Yeah.
ahead, Robert.
Oh yeah, no, I'm just saying that if you're those are not bad slots to start with for a support vessel.
Yeah, so we'll see. I would love it if they had a viable other like sort of archetype to spend those last 30 points. I would love that.
That would be great.
I think that would really be a leg up for the game.
Yeah, and I think we did sort of see the start of it. I think at Worlds this year with that 30-point Defiant. You remember that?
Yeah. Okay. I don't think it is the same as the other two.
No, it's not.
Good.
But it's sort of an example of what we're hoping becomes more of a thing.
Right.
I also think because of the changing in points, we're going to see more 45, 40, right?
That'd be nice too. Then if you could have two 50s or about and a fighter or a shuttle, two fighters and two ships, and then three ships, if those, and then one other and then 2 50s and a science vessel. If you had all those archetypes, that's plenty. Like that'd be sweet.
Do you think that 3 feds with upgraded phasers can beat 2 feds with 2 fighters?
That's an interesting question.
We're saying that. What are we saying about warp jump?
Well, they have upgraded anti baits.
Yeah.
It's interesting, Robert, because warp jump is not quite as nice. Obviously, it's still amazing because if those 2 ships warp jump out, normally the great thing is, I'll just leave my fighters to soak up some hits, but your fighters are gone.
Oh no! I meant for the 3. I think it's more important for the 3 fed.
Well, I don't know if they'd all be able to get them on there.
Let's maybe put this in our back pocket as a possible match episode. This might be an interesting one to do.
Yeah, sure.
And part of the reason I say that is we have essentially come to the end of our time for today. So, any last thoughts? I mean, we've seen what? We've probably seen about a quarter of each of the packs now. So
I don't think so. Maybe.
I think a quarter. The Romulans took a little bit of a dip this week, I think, in their stock value.
The Romulan pack is pretty much a must buy on Tomalek and the Suran alone. Like, there's nothing that can be in that pack that will make me not recommend you buy it at this point.
Well, let me just tell you this: the penny stock that is the Dominion faction pack. I am not encouraged to go spend that penny to go buy some more.
Well, it's that other guy. It's
Listen,
black, whatever. That's why you're gonna buy it.
Listen, Robert. I'm just gonna tell you, if you just hold the faith and buy the pack this time, next time it'll.
The next Dominion pack will make it up to you.
Yeah.
Okay, so if the Dominion pack is facing off against the Romulan pack,
Romulans wreck their face.
I'm not sure that's true because the Romulans probably are going to have two completely worthless for combat ships.
Well, I'm just saying.
Yeah, but they have the Suran,
right now.
Right? Like the Suran with Tomalek on it, and I mean, how many techs can we get on there, right? Like, what tech is in the pack?
Let's just do this. We're running the cruiser and the second division against the Suran and the scout vessel.
Okay, so all you have to do is take out the cruiser, and then you win if the Suran is still alive, because there's no way the battleship will ever touch the Suran.
That's true.
No, not the battleship. The cruiser and the
as-
second wing patrol.
Well, you know what? We don't know.
Yeah.
Because which faction pack has the higher captain really would matter in that little competition.
And I mean, we know the female changeling is coming because of that picture Steven spoiled way back when. So
She must have had her captain skill.
I don't remember.
No, I don't think she did actually.
I don't remember. We should go back and look at that.
Well.
Oh man, how far back in time is that?
Jeez, yeah.
She could certainly be an 8, which would tie Tom.
She could be a 9. I could see a 9.
Yeah. So then, if she's
I'm holding out hopes of a 5 with how the Dominion pack has been treating me so far.
Well, you know something. Well, here's what I was thinking. What, in terms of access, just access to cards, is probably one of the biggest limiting factors for competitive builds right now.
So what cards do people need access to?
Yeah.
Type 8s.
Upgraded phasers.
Aside from those,
shield system upgrades.
there's a card that's harder and more expensive to get than Type 8s and Type 8s and a con, right? Con's ability, copy captain skill, right?
Oh, here's something interesting.
Let me. Jesus Christ, Robert, let me finish.
I'm sorry.
If there is one place, if there's one character in the game that they could justify also putting that ability on, it would be a changeling.
That's true.
Yeah.
I also find it very delightful that you just chastised Robert for interrupting people.
Yeah, I know. I'm sorry. I'm exhausted from yesterday. It's been a long day. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, man.
But you're correct. You weren't finished you weren't finished your point. It's Robert. He talks fast.
What did you say? What, Joseph? What? I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you over my own conversation. I'm scrolling through. I haven't found that photo yet.
Yeah, Facebook just has the wait. I found it. Hang on. She's 9.
Well, there you go. So then the Dominion pack would win. But thankfully, we're not limited to that.
I see what you're saying. She would be able to attack before the Suran attack.
Yeah.
That's
Good point.
Unless the Suran comes with a 2-point tech that gives +1 captain skill or +3 if it's on a Romulan.
That's hilarious.
Man, that would be so sweet.
Oh my god.
That would be so
Yeah, but I still think what you do in that situation is that you just censor Echo and stay out of Arc until you could get into a better situation. Maybe that wouldn't work.
Yeah, I don't know.
Hey, well, Joseph, I will challenge you, Dominion Pack versus Faction Pack, live on Tabletop Simulator.
Well, I that sounds fun. let's do that. But I'm not making any bets on the whole pack as a whole because I don't know what's in there.
Well, we'll put our bets towards charity.
The only point I'm making is battle cruiser and bug versus has the new battleship been spoiled or not?
No.
It has not.
Oh, we know it's called Second Division Battleship, and it has that arc because of the exact image with the female changeling on it. But other than that, we don't know anything about it.
So this patrol ship versus and the battle cruiser versus the scout vessel and the Suron, they would massacre those ships.
You mean the Suron would massacre?
No.
Really?
Not if it's got a lower captain skill.
Yeah, that's true.
All right.
The scout vessel's not going to do any damage.
That's correct. All right. Well, look, we're really over time at this point, so I'm going to call it here. Those were your final thoughts before you say anything. I asked for final thoughts. And you had that conversation. So we're also at an.
Well, I think here, Joseph, right here, right now, I challenge you: Dominion to Romulan.
That sounds good to me. I accept.
Yeah.
Well, because these are supposed to be
your favorite charity or something.
Actually, when you get down to it, these are supposed to be fairly playable fleets out of the box, right? So that would be interesting to do. Anyway, so we're coming up on an hour and 45 minutes here. So we need to call it, and I need to go get some sleep. So thanks everybody for listening. If you enjoy the show, like us on Facebook. Subscribe on the iTunes podcast app or the Player.fm Android app or your favorite RSS feed. We'll see you next time. But until then, dials down and may Q be generous with your dice.